could the God of the Bible be Satan? Let me first start by saying to you guys this, that the creator of the universe, which I believe there is a creator of the universe, because the mathematics and the quantum physics proves that we're living in a creation. We're living in a fractal holographic matrix. It was created by somebody. Somebody programmed this matrix. We're living in a coded program. You know, how you can wrap or can't wrap your mind around it, that's what we're living inside of. And that's a creation created by someone, somewhere on the outside of this realm. I believe that we're living in a creation. I also believe that this divine energy imbued into all the energetic particles that exist in this entire realm, what make up your body and everything else, and that your consciousness is being streamed in from even higher dimensions, because we're not really here. The entity that people are praying to is not the God they think it is, not even close. It's actually multiple gods in the Bible. It's these Anunnaki beings, these people that were written about in the Sumerian, cuneiform, and Babylonian and Akkadian epics. It was gods with an S, and if you find the original translation of the word God, you'll find that in the Bible it's mistranslated to be singular when it's actually plural. Everywhere where you see the word God in the Bible, it's gods with an S. And no, it's not a capital G, it's a lowercase g, because these people didn't create anything in the universe. All they did was manipulate and create havoc here on this planet. They masqueraded as gods, and people believed it because people have this innate thing inside of them that they want to worship. They want to worship something outside of themselves so badly that they will give anyone the level or the title of a deity. Human beings are just one gigantic cargo cult. When a more advanced civilization and group of beings meets up and enacts and engages with a group of beings that are less advanced technologically and spiritually, the less advanced beings will then deify those more advanced beings. They will automatically, instantaneously deify them. Even today, if an alien landed in a spaceship in the middle of town, the town square, a lot of people will drop to their knees and start praying, thinking it's Jesus Christ returning, when Jesus never said he was returning. Jesus never said he was coming back. He said the Christ would return. And the Christ existed long before he was even born. It's the Christ consciousness. Before Jesus, there were many Christs. It's a understanding, a level of thinking, a way of ascending to a higher level of knowledge and wisdom and understanding about yourself internally, and then on the outside, the world as a whole. And understanding that there are levels to ascension, and being born again has to do strictly with raising your consciousness to a higher level than it was before. And you will continuously be born again over and over again as you ascend to higher dimensions of knowledge and wisdom and understanding. That's what being born again is all about. If you look at the ancient mysteries, being born again is all about how far you can ascend consciously. And then looking back on that previous level you were at and realizing, wow, I was there. Now I'm here. I learned so much to get to this level. Now there's even another level. And the top level, who knows where that's at? It's a continual process, nonstop. I'm still learning. I'm still growing every single day. Every single day, there's more to learn. There's more to understand. There's more knowledge and wisdom to gain. That's why I love to travel to these places and meet up with these indigenous cultures and these sages and these wisdom keepers and talk to them. Jesus is not returning. The Christ will return. The Christ consciousness. When that comes back in each and every individual person, we will head into a golden age. We will head into a golden age as a species on this planet. It's a level of consciousness that will spread around, and every single person will ascend to a certain level of that Christ consciousness being. That will actually mean the return of the Christ. And it has nothing to do with a person coming back. It has nothing to do with somebody coming back to snatch up the souls that beg for forgiveness and all this other kind of crazy nonsense that was fabricated. None of that stuff. Let's talk about one of the very first craziest scenarios, most sadistic scenarios I've ever read in the Bible. But let's look at this one of the very first things I ever read that really had me scratching my head as a kid. I think I was 3 years old when I was reading this, and so I came across Genesis 22, where God is speaking to Abraham, and he wants to test Abraham, and this is what he does. He says, sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, here I am, he replied. So Abraham's speaking to God now. They got an open conversation, right? They're having a communication back and forth, two-way conversation. This entity he's talking to is a person. that he thinks is a God. I don't think he's talking to some mystical, invisible figure. Then God said, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about. Can you imagine that? So this person who you worship in and thinking it's the almighty creator and the almighty creator of the heavens and earth and the universe and is all knowing and all love and everything else. And now this person who he calls a he, by the way, because I don't believe God has no gender, but there's a he all of a sudden. He's telling this guy, I want you to take your firstborn son and I want you to kill him in my name's sake. That's what he's telling him. So early the next morning, Abraham got up and sadly saddled his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, this man is following through on this craziness. Tell me this ain't sadistic on both sides. He set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship and then we will come back to you. So he's lying now. Now he's telling a lie. He's trying to tell his servants, man, we're just going to go over here and pray for a minute and come right back. He ain't doing that. He's getting ready to go murder his own son in the namesake of this fake God. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. So now he's putting the wood on his son. And he himself carried the fire and the knife as 2 of them went together. Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, Father. Yes, my son, Abraham replied. The fire and the wood are here, Isaac said. But where's the lamb for the burnt offering? He don't even know he's about to get murdered by his own dad. He doesn't even know his dad is taking him up there to kill him in the name of his God, with the lowercase g. Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the 2 of them went on together. Again, he's lying again. When they reached the place that God had told him about, Abraham built an altar and he arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham, here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything. Now I know you fear God. If you think that that's love, if you think that fear means love, then you don't have no idea what love really is. If you think that the all-knowing and all-loving God, he good all the time, the one that told this dude to go up on the mountaintop with his own kid, his only son, his firstborn, and he loved so much, this guy bounds his son and pulls out the knife and gets ready to slash his own kid's throat in the name of God. Why? You think he did this because he wants to show God how faithful he is? He did it because he doesn't want the wrath of God. You see? That's why God said, now I know you fear me. That is very sadistic and very evil. Very evil. That's an evil thing to do. You see what this God of the Bible does? He preys on fear. He preys on fear. I do mean a he. Now I'm going to call it a he because the God of the Bible are men. They're actual flesh and blood people. It's not any creator of any universe at all. And so he's preying on the fear. He's using fear tactics to win people over. And these people, they don't understand that the powers that he has are just high levels of technology and wisdom that he can wield over them. This whole religion thing this dogma is a complete psychosis. And there's people out here just to this very day that will kill you over a religious belief. More people have died on this planet over religious beliefs than any other reason on the planet. More people have died on this planet in wars because of religious beliefs more than any other reason. When you operate in fear, there is zero love. Absolutely zero. None. When you have to manipulate people to make them love you, the reason why the majority of people going to church and doing all this praying and everything else, and I've had a few Christians tell me this, is because they're doing it just in case. They think that, I better do this just in case heaven is real. Well, let me tell you something. The reason why you're praying and doing all these rituals and everything else and drinking the blood and eating the flesh and all this other craziness is because you yourself want self-preservation. You do not want to burn in this fake lake of fire that doesn't even exist because that was added to the Bible. But you think you're going to suffer for all eternity. So instead of having the suffering, that's where the fear kicks in. Man, I better do this, because if I don't, I'm going to face the wrath of God for all eternity. So then what people do is they pretend, oh, I'm calling on the Lord, I love the Lord. Well, it's all about self-preservation. That's the problem. It's all about self-preservation. Let's have a look here. How many people are killed in the Bible? That's the topic of this talk, right? Well, let's have a look. He wiped out all but 7 humans during the flood, killed countless tribes and cities. This is God doing this. He even killed his own son. He loves killing. He killed around 3 million people according to the Bible. So who's doing all the killing in this Bible? Have you read the Bible? Do you know who's ordering all this bloodshed and murder and killing? And if this ordering of bloodshed and murder and killing was to create a better world, look at the state of the world today. I don't think it worked, guys. If that was the ultimate goal, was to kill all these people to make a better future, God killed around 3 million people according to the Bible. And how many people did Satan kill? There's a discretion between their interpretation of the actions between 3 and 10 people. That's what Satan supposedly killed. Between three for sure. There's 3 for sure, but 10. Now, the 10 are interesting because the 7 sons and 3 daughters of Job. But the thing about that killing, if you want to call it that, he does it because God allowed it as part of a bet. There was a wager between God and Satan about this, and Satan won the wager, and so he let him kill Job's sons and daughters. So technically the blood is on God's hands. So when you analyze that and you go, man, it just doesn't make any sense. Who's doing all this killing? Do you think it's the creator of the universe, the all-knowing, all-loving God that creates planets and universes, that transcends time and dimensions, that can create molecules and atoms and all this kind of stuff? Or are you finally wrapping your brain around the fact that it's most likely not that entity, but most likely someone or some people that masqueraded as gods back then and fooled, I mean pure tomfoolery, these people, hoodwinked these people, and got them believing in this information. This entity or these entities, these people, were not God at all. They were just normal flesh and blood people with more advanced knowledge and wisdom, and because of that, they were able to rule over people in a way that the people would deify them and pray to them. And then that same tactic that they use in fear to get people to worship them and work for them as like slaves, to get them to kill and slaughter one another, is the same exact teachings that you're getting today and teaching to your kids. It hasn't changed. It's the same thing in the New. Oh, this is the Old Testament. Oh, well, let me show you something in the New Testament then. Well, Jesus, he said, I'm an advocate for slavery. Yeah, slaves. Make sure you honor and worship your master like you would honor and worship me. That's in the Bible. That's in the New Testament. And any entity or beings or any writings of anybody who wrote anything about advocating for slavery, I'm totally against that. I guarantee you I'm totally against that. And so what are we talking about here? Who is doing all this killing in the Bible? It's not Satan. The Bible was written from 100 AD to 900 AD by Phoenicians, followers of Hermes. Thoth, the Atlantean priest king. That's who wrote the Bible. And they didn't write a Bible. What they did was they started copying ancient texts from all over the world, remnants of the Library of Alexandria, copying these ancient texts onto different parchment papers and stuffing them inside of vases and jars inside of caves. Over time, between 100 AD to 900 AD, people, explorers and archaeologists, coming across these vases and opening them up, finding all these ancient writings. These ancient writings were copied from, okay, let me translate this tablet onto this writing, onto this parchment paper, and then I'm going to store it away. And so over the course of that amount of time, 100 AD to 900 AD, that's after the death. Jesus and Paul and Judas and Matthew, they were dead. The Bible wasn't written in real time. That was written long after these people were gone and passed away. So where did this information come from? It came from ancient texts and ancient tablets, recopied onto different parchment papers. and the proof is in the pudding. You can go back and you can find those same exact quotes and statements and words out of the ancient text. It comes right from there. Some of it copied word for word directly onto these parchment papers. Then later, people who discovered these things, eventually they came together, said, hey, let's make a canonized book out of this. And that's when the Council of Nicaea got together and they started going through and curating what they would put into this canonized Bible and what they would not put into the canonized Bible. And then when they got to a good mix of neuroscience where they knew they could utilize this information to control masses of people, they said, we're going to put this one out right here. Boom. We altered this. We changed that. We mistranslated this by accident on purpose. We changed this around. We put this over here. We moved this around. We took out the part talking about aliens. We took out the part talking about spaceships and UFOs. Okay, so now I think we got something here. We can dominate the planet with this. And then how did this information get spread around the world? How did Christianity make it around this planet? Well, you do just like your father does it, don't you? Apples don't fall far from the tree. God was doing all the murdering and killing, so did the people. The people followed the book of the Bible, letter, word for word, and that's what they do. They went around this planet, killing and murdering every indigenous culture. Christianity is literally spread by killing and murder and rape. They slaughtered and killed over 80 million people under the Pope's orders. The museums for the Inquisitions still exist. You can go into Rome and you can go to museums where you see the tools that they would use on people. They would take and go to an indigenous culture. Every continent has been attacked by these people. They go out and every continent you could think of, they show up with we're here to bring you the good news. And then the next thing you know, you're getting raped, pillaged. They take the chief of the town, bring the chief to the center of the town, call everybody down. Then they burn the chief or kill the chief or torture him in front of everyone and say, now you learn our language and you learn our religion or this is going to happen to you. And that's how Christianity got spread around the planet. It didn't get spread by love and all the good vibes and all this kind of stuff. And we bringing the gospel and the good news to the planet. No, it got spread by rape, torture, murder, killing. And then after that happened to that first generation, but the second generation and the third generation comes, now they're born right into it. They automatically are into it. That's the new dogma. That's their new belief system. And then they're going to teach it on and on and on and on and on. These people were geniuses, how they put this thing together. Absolute geniuses. That's neuroscience at the highest level. They applied that neuroscience through this text, manipulated it, and used it to manipulate the entire planet, which generates today trillions of dollars globally. And people that are running around here dropping on their knees and begging for all this stuff, drop down on your knees and weep and beg the Lord to give you this and beg the Lord to give you that. That's not how it works. You haven't read the text, you haven't read the ancient tablets, and you haven't read the parts of the Bible that they didn't corrupt, that they forgot to take out. Like the fact that you are God's. And that Jesus said, you will do greater things than me. The last people on the planet. We're still last against all the other races in terms of where we've grown consciously and spiritually, financially, economically on this planet. We're still in last place. It is a fact. It's a fact. As a complete group, globally, black people are still being sold as slaves in Libya today. $400 a head. When I go to Egypt, I have an armed guard and my head is on a swivel looking for any abductors because Libya is right around the corner. Today, and this is 2022, Ephesians 6:5. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with deep respect and fear. That's the same fear that God was demanding with Abraham, wasn't it? Why do you think they had church? But the master would sit there at the church to make sure that that slave who was reading the book was reading some of these verses, letting them know, hey man, you got to obey this is in the Bible. We got to obey these people. We got to worship these people. Serve them sincerely as you would serve Christ. Ephesians 6:5. Christians who are slaves should give their masters full respect so that the name of God and his teaching will not be shamed. If your master is a Christian, that is no excuse for being disrespectful. You should work all the harder. It's easy how they programming you to work hard and be a slave. You should work all the harder because you are helping another believer by your effort. Timothy, and encourage everyone to obey them. 1 Timothy 6:1-2. In the following parable, Jesus clearly approves of beating slaves, even if they don't know they were doing anything wrong. The servant will be severely punished, for though he knew his duty, he refused to do it. But people who are not aware that they are doing wrong will be punished only lightly. Much is required from those whom much is given. They use this all the time. That's a famous quote, but nobody knows that quote comes from the advocation of slavery in the Bible. Nobody knows that. Much is required from those to whom much is given, and much more is required from those whom much more is given. Luke 12:47 through 48. You didn't know that? That's a famous quote that everyone uses, right? They use it all the time. There's just so much of this going on. So much murder and killing and pillaging in this book, where these gods with an S, lowercase g, were people, were fighting each other, and they were using humans to do these battles. Kill people who don't listen to priests. Anyone arrogant enough to reject the verdict of another judge, or of the priest who represents the Lord your God, must be put to death. Such evil must be purged from Israel. Deuteronomy 17:12. Now, a lot of this came out after the Ten Commandments, by the way. So the Ten Commandments came out in the beginning, thou shalt not kill, and the next thing you know, kill non-believers. They entered into a covenant to seek the Lord, the God of their fathers, with their heart and their soul, and everyone who will not seek the Lord, the God of Israel, was put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman. 2 Chronicles 15:12 through 13. When Moses went to the top of the mountain and got the Ten Commandments, he came back down. He didn't like what was going on in his camp, so he started killing everybody. After he got the commandment to not kill, he came back down and started killing everybody. But this is all authorized by the God. Suppose a man or woman among you in one of your towns that the Lord your God is giving you has done evil in the sight of the Lord your God, and has violated the covenant by serving other gods or by worshiping the sun. This is what Akhenaten was when he was worshiping the sun god Aten, who is also known as Amun-Ra. So this guy here who's telling this God here is speaking to his people, telling them, look, if you worship my cousin Amun-Ra, you're in trouble. And so he says, or any of the forces of heaven which I have strictly forbidden, when you hear about it, investigate the matter thoroughly. If it is true that this detestable thing has been done in Israel, then that man or woman must be taken to the gates of the town and stoned to death. Deuteronomy 17:2 through 5. Marduk is one of the most evil people to ever exist, and that's Amun-Ra. That was the sun god. And so what was happening there was these Anunnaki people, they were arguing and battling each other using human beings as the warriors. And sometimes you would see that the angels, which are really the aliens, would get involved in these battles as well and go to war with the humans. They had to put on helmets and breastplates, and they would have to get swords, and they had to go fight. These same angels that the Bible talks about were having sex with women and homosexual sex. They were getting drunk. They were doing partying, all this crazy stuff, right? So that was in the Bible too. So these were not angels, these were aliens, these Anunnaki people working and fighting with human beings for whatever reason. They always wanted to have control over more land, more resources. And these people, these aliens, kept fighting each other using human beings as chattel. If you look into the Indian Vedas, you find that there were these huge flying cities. These huge flying cities, in my opinion, are UFOs. They were flying cities with literally thousands of people in each one of these vessels. And these vessels would go to war above land against each other in plain broad daylight. Well documented. These people were warring people and always fighting over more resources, more land, because why? Earth was a breakaway civilization for them. And it was always a consistent battle over control from the very first time they got here. The very first time, the first one who landed here was Alalu. Alalu killed the king on Nibiru and then fled to Earth. And then from Earth, he negotiated back with them a deal that he would have kingship and he would keep his life on Earth as long as he gave them the location of some of the resources and was able to transport resources back to Nibiru, which were greatly needed there. So this story is much bigger than you even think. You don't even come close, most people, to understanding where all this information comes from and what the true information is really all about and what the underlying story is really all about. Who is doing all this killing? I believe it. Everybody thinks there's this creator, this grand artist. I believe that. But guess what? In that book, that ain't it. That's a murdering, a sadistic psychopathic, narcissistic murderer. That's what that is. And unfortunately, that has really crept into the DNA and the epigenetics of people on this planet and has us beating that same garbage into every single one of our generations over and over again. And I'm here to try to stop it. You can believe in a creator of a universe. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that that is something that doesn't even exist inside this universe. You're not going to interact with, you're not going to walk up and shake hands with this entity. You're not going to hang out and go have a beer at the bar and hang out with prostitutes like Jesus did. You're not going to, have casual conversations about killing people. That's not going to happen. There's no book on this planet that actually, and from ancient texts, that says this is the actual real God. They're all talking about multiple gods with an S, and these gods, they all turn out to be regular old people that put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and me. People are thinking that human beings are the only people that exist in the universe. Human beings are the new kids on the block, but we are just an offspring or a cousin of the same type of body type that exists throughout the entire universe. Earth is an abandoned seed colony. That's what we are. We're living on an abandoned seed colony, and we are really trying, scratching in the dark, trying to find our way. And a lot of the DNA and genetics that we have from our past generations, also we have the genetics and DNA from the past generations from these same people, these same beings, every single one of us. So who are the aliens? We all are the aliens, every single one of us. As a matter of fact, this planet Earth and the solar system that we're in does not even come from the Milky Way galaxy. Look it up. Earth doesn't come from the Milky Way galaxy. Earth comes from the Sagittarius Dwarf galaxy. Sagittarius Dwarf, not the Sagittarius constellation, but the Sagittarius Dwarf galaxy is another smaller galaxy that's actually merging with the Milky Way right now as we speak. And we found out we meaning astrophysicists found out that the point in which the merger actually occurs and actually began is where Earth and our entire solar system was dropped into place, merging into the Milky Way. So this entire solar system is alien to this galaxy. We're not even from this galaxy. We're from a Sagittarius galaxy. We're not even from the Milky Way galaxy. And in 5 billion years, the Milky Way galaxy will merge with the Andromeda galaxy, making us Milkomeda in 5 billion years. And the sky will look, again, totally different at night. When you look up at the sky in a night that doesn't have any light pollution and you see that swath of stars going across, everybody says, that's the Milky Way. We found out that's not the Milky Way galaxy. And now all astrophysics books have already been rewritten. When you go to college and university to study astrophysics, you'll learn now today that is the Sagittarius Dwarf going across the sky, not the Milky Way. All of this comes from a totally different galaxy. So the story is much grander and bigger than you ever thought of, than you can ever possibly even dream if you just go out there and start doing some real research. And when you dig into this Bible and look into who's doing all the killing, you discover that the God of the Bible, which is not the creator of the universe, is the one doing all the killing. Unfortunately, that's the case. And so the true demon, the true darkness, the true dark night, the true evil and malice is coming from the one that you're dropping on your knees and crying to every night. What that does is it allows you to take all your personal responsibility and push it out on something else that doesn't even exist. The way the Bible is written, if you believe that Satan, the devil, and he's got so much power that he's almost as smart as God, right? He used to be on the right hand of God. He has almost the same exact level of power. And he's got all this high IQ in the thousands, probably in the tens of thousands, way smarter than a human being. And you think that this entity is going to follow this book written by men down to the letter until its own demise? Isn't it more obvious that this book has been written to lead human beings down to the letter to their own demise? And that's exactly what's happening. The entity that you're worshiping and praying to and begging and everything else in that book is actually Satan. That's Enlil from the ancient Sumerian tablets, also known as Satan, the Lord of Eden. That's who you've been praying to. That's who you've been begging for help and forgiveness and everything else. The thing about what they've done to human beings is they've got us living such short lives that by the time we realize what's going on, we're already about to die. I think that if people were living for at least 800 years, they'd get to a certain level of understanding where they realize the dogma's gone, the bullcrap is gone, the stupid religions are all gone. It's really all about the internal, the work you do on the inside of yourself, and how you connect directly from the inside out to the universe, and how loving you can be, and how much you can help people, and how you can help bring heaven to earth. How can you create your own heaven right here where you're at? That's really the ultimate mission. The mission is to learn how to live now. Complete the mission here first. This is the mission right now. Bringing heaven to earth and living right now. Man, life is good. Every single day. When you come to that realization that you have a part controlling your own destiny, that you can do the inner work and create the outer work. The inner work will reflect on the outside, that you can become a master at manifesting, that you can learn how to help millions of people through conscious thoughts, that you can travel in time and see the future and do actions here today that will alter the future reality in the third dimension. That's when you are on to something, and that your consciousness is already divine, being streamed into this dimension from higher dimensions.